Buried Cathedral is massive in size, and despite being popular only for -3, it has two other floors that are also pretty good for team hunts, and this is how to hunt -1. Buried Cathedral is part of the Dream Course quest. The entrance to it is located in the Haunted Cellar by POH, but in order to enter, you must have done the 3 access quests in each of the Spectre spawns. In Gazers, you need to loot 4 idle tugs, in Bursters you need to get 2 ceremonial angs, and on Reapers you need to fill a bucket with goo. That's the short version of it, but upon having done all of that, you get access to the spawn, which is highly popular, but only for the last floor, -3. On this video, I will break down the first floor, which at least for us, -1 was one of our most haunted spawns. It was never contested, we didn't have to deal with the 4 teams waiting to hunt -3, and the experience was good enough for us. So let's talk about the lab. The first pool is north of the entrance. On the bridge, you do 1 pull, for which you will be coming from the east, and you set up when you get 4 or 5 creatures. Then continue the path to the left, and for this one, I usually will lose aggro of some Gazers, because I will rush into the room, peek towards the left to bring some extra and then backtrack to stand near the middle or the north, so that when the rest of the team comes, I grab the Gazer I lost. Then the next pull is to the left, go up to the intersection and make sure to get the spot in the middle. Then most of the monsters come on their own from both west and north. After that, continue the path to the left, and here we will split the lures. EK stands on the middle of the intersection, RP goes north, and MS goes south, then come back to connect the lures. They will either tank a monster to let me rest or use magic balls to block their path. Next up will be to the northeast. This area is where you start to find Arachnophobicas on a higher ratio to Reaper Spectres. So this side is where the dangerous pools are. The first one set up here so that both mages can wave. In the case of the druid, even though you reflect some earth damage for hidden reapers, you should still use the tearaway to do more damage on the spiders. The next pool will vary where I stand, because often I need to move around to find the monsters, or else they just come for the shooters later. I find it better to get close to the stair and then back to the spot. Usually the monsters to the south come on their own, but the paladin can help luring as well if needed. Under the stairs is an optional pool that has bursters and gazers. It's optional and normally not needed because overkilling the spawn is kind of hard, but the actual next pool is just east of the stairs, which also happens to be the hardest and most dangerous, since it will be mainly just spiders, where you can end up with 6 spiders easily. I would recommend to use Utamo Tempo for this pool. And by the way, I was using a death imbuement on the shield. Then next up, continue going east and stop around here for another pool with mostly spiders. The next pool after that is to the southeast following the path. For this one, I found the best spot to be like this, southeast of the rock, since it lets mages wave from the north, because I used to go further and just happen to use runes instead due to bad positioning. After that, continue the path and peek south before you set up on this spot, that way you can lure the last spider on the passage. This next pool can be hard to set up. You have to be fast as the EK to go inside the room, while also trying to not lose aggro of the monsters behind you. If you manage to do it, then it's easy to kill inside the room, but sometimes I wouldn't get there and just set up outside of the room instead. Then continue the path and set up at the intersection. Make sure to peek towards both sides before doing so, to lure monsters out of the rooms. And with that, we will be back at the first pool to finish the lab. The experience on our first couple hunts were around the 2.3kk, but once we got the lab settled, then it was over 2.4kk raw. Additionally, with another team with good characters on a normal server, the experience will get to over 2.7kk raw. Profit is hard to say, depends on how efficient you guys are with the spawn. But in general, it is good profit. Even with the new server characters, we were getting 100 to 150k each per hour. Besides that, you might have noticed that I wasn't using an elemental weapon, because I didn't have one at the time. Instead, I was using a powerful death imbuement on my weapon, but ice is the best, just harder to find the materials and someone that can do the imbuement. But elemental imbuments are pretty useful for this spawn, since it hits both specters and spiders. Optionally, if you can't get the items for it, then go with the earth imbuement instead. It reflects a bit of damage, but it still does 80% damage to the Reapers, unlike the fire damage, which also reflects, but they only take 30%. And the best element for this spawn as the EK will be ice, then earth, and lastly death or fire. In my case, I was also alternating between weapons. On the pool with the spiders on the north side, I will use a physical weapon, because killing the spiders was more important than the Reapers, and I didn't have anything else. Keep in mind that this was on a new server, so options were limited. which is why using elemental imbuements is a viable option. In the case of the paladins, it's better to just focus on your damage at the spiders, because for the specters there is nothing but mass sand and runes, but also this could very well be one of the few spawns where using the summon is helpful, so keep that in mind. And with that said, that's all I got for this one. Next up, I will be posting -2 and -3 as well, so that you have even more options to hunt, and if that's not enough, check out this playlist for more places to hunt. Thank you for watching, and a special thanks to Tuna Hero, Nightstar and Thor the Slasher.